Welcome back into Yellowhammer Radio, Superstation 101 WYDE. I am Scott Chambers.
I'm Andrea Tice, and we are going to start our next section with Fire Seeds. Cord Sachs is the founder of Fire Seeds. He's been at it since 2011, and he's been leveraging 15 years of recruiting and leadership development experience. Cord launched Fire Seeds to recruit dynamic leaders and install leader development strategies into world-changing businesses, and I believe I hear him on the line.
Absolutely. Cord, how are you today?
Doing great, Scott. Andrea, good to hear from you.
Good to have you here.
Good to have you here, man. Sorry, I'm a little down today. I think I'm suffering from some midlife crisis or something going on. I don't know what's going on in my life today. I'm here today, Cord. I'm here.
Well, very good. That's what we're going to talk about today is the midlife crisis.
Well,
Boy,
perfect. What time?
what a day to talk about that.
Have you been tapping his phone or his computer?
Yeah, we sent the government in.
I hear you guys have been pretty fired up in the last few segments.
Yeah, we have been, Cord. We have been. Well, let's talk a bit about the old midlife crisis there. You know, a midlife crisis, it's an interesting thing. You hear the term all the time, but what exactly is a midlife crisis and what is it about, actually?
Yeah, that's
all right.
a good
Well,
question.
this crisis, this midlife crisis, is the crisis of regret. And it's basically based on a picture that we all build throughout our lives of what success should look like at some point in the future. And when we don't hit that picture, when we don't meet the definition, our picture and definition of success, at that time, when we do hit it, we have a crisis. We have a crisis, and it's why didn't I hit it? Did I not have what it takes? What if I never hit this level of success? And there's the crisis.
That is probably the best description. I honestly mean this, Cord. That's probably the best description where you're hitting at the root of it, where you said it's based on regret. So does this come at any particular time? Does it have to play out a certain length of years before a person gets into an evaluative mode and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm not living up to where I should be"?
That's a great question, and it's different for everyone. PhD out of Appalachian State, who did a big study on midlife crisis, said there's typically triggers that trigger your midlife crisis, and some of them are as simple as hitting that decade at the 0, the 30, the 40, the 50-year mark.
Yeah.
They can throw you and trigger the crisis, but a lot of times it's triggered also by a parent's death, and that's what kind of gives you your gauge of where your midlife should be. It happened for me. My dad died at 63, and I specifically remember thinking, wow, I'm almost 30 years old. I'm almost at the midway point of my life.
Yeah.
And so my midlife, in a sense, crisis of thinking about that happened, early 30s.
Okay.
Wow.
So a major life moment like a death can also trigger it earlier than the traditional 40, 50-year-old mark that we have in our minds.
Well, or just give you your gauge for where yours will be. If your mom or dad dies at 80, you just naturally think, wow, if I make it to 40, I'm halfway done.
Yeah.
You know, I was only half joking, Cord, when I said I'm having a midlife crisis, but now I'm sitting here doing the math, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I might actually be halfway through my life if I live to be, 70 years old. Wow.
That's right.
So now that means I've got to go out and buy a sports car today. I got it.
And that's funny because that's a lot of times what happens is we think I've got to go fill a void. There's this lack of fulfillment that's happening now in my life, and I got to go try to fill it with something. So that's where it's kind of the running joke. But a lot of people go and they go buy that sports car. My dad did. He tells the story of buying a red sports car, and a month later selling it for $10,000 less than he bought it for because he couldn't put a 2x4 in the back of it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, what about the people, though, Cord, that already have really successful lives? I mean, you have a successful business and a successful home life, and you're already successful. Did those people have midlife crises as well?
Absolutely. And the studies actually say those that meet their picture of success or far succeed their picture of success, if that has been their goal and they're living for that picture of success, they're actually more there's more of a chance that they're going to fall into a deeper crisis at this midlife point in time in their life.
Wow.
And here's the reason why. It's because if you or I have this picture of success and we don't get there, let's say it's 40 years old and we think we're supposed to be at this point in our career and make this amount of money, and we don't get there, we have a reason that we can blame kind of this lack of fulfillment on. But if you have reached that point of success and you've made maybe even more money than you thought, and you get to that point and you feel that same lack of fulfillment, then you have no clue as to why you've done everything you thought you should have to be successful, and yet there's still a void in your life. And so many of those type of folks actually go into a depression around that time of life because they have no answers as to why.
Wow.
So the actual success actually can bring more questioning of root or purpose than just striving. The actually reaching the goal can cause more of an introverted evaluation than the process of striving towards it.
And not hitting. That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And those people that have been really successful when they do hit a midlife crisis as well, they potentially have a lot more money. So when people go out and make these crazy midlife crisis purchase, like the sports car, the beach home, those people have the money to go do it. Then I could see them really being more depressed.
Absolutely.
More so than you or I.
In the world all the time, and they go buy more, and they get the bigger house, and they go on that crazy adventure, that adventure trip, and they get back, and it still doesn't fulfill the void.
Well, how do we avoid it, Cord? How do we actually avoid that?
Well, notice we've been talking about success, living for success, having a picture of success, and we avoid the midlife crisis by replacing the word success with significance. Is that if we can learn to live for significance over success, that's how we avoid the midlife crisis. And so Bob Buford has a great book out called Halftime, and he talks about the process of so many people get to the halfway point in their life. They live for success, but then they have a choice they can make. I can transition and choose to live the second half of my life for significance. And if I do that, I then begin to fill that emptiness, that void, and start getting fulfillment out of what I'm striving and living for.
Would you say, Cord, that the difference between success and significance is that success has these kind of external, maybe more shallow markers, whereas significance is more, shall I say, faith-based or spiritually based?
I would say your faith definitely plays into that. I think it's aligning with purpose. And that's what we're going to talk about next week as well. So I'll give a little teaser for it. But
okay.
In order for us to live a life of significance, it's going to be aligning our life with what means something, with what counts, the purpose, true purpose that brings the fulfillment. And so we'll talk about purpose really having to do with four things. Purpose has to do, first of all, with people. It always involves people. So number one, people. And then it's the people that have providentially been put in your path, number two. So if you think about people and the people that are providentially in my path every day, that's clue two. Clue three is people that have been put in your path and people you spend the majority of your time with, clue three. And then finally, clue four, it's people in your path, people you spend the most time with, and people that you have the most influence over.
Interesting.
And so if you take those four factors and you think of where you spend where those four factors play out, you'll come back to seeing that they play out primarily in the boardroom or in the family room.
Interesting.
The time you spend at work and the time you spend at home.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. I'm going to have to check that book out by Bob Buford. You mentioned Halftime. That sounds like a really good book to read.
Phenomenal book. Absolutely.
I have to check that out. So,
Very, very interesting. I think this is very helpful for people listening.
No question.
To understand the terminology that you put out there, and that we should be not success-driven as much as significance, and understand the difference between the two.
Yeah, because if you don't have that significance in your life, you're not going to be effective at work. You're not going to be effective at home. I don't see being effective in either place.
Right.
That's right. And you don't have to give up one for the other. In a sense, you can be and live your life for significance and still be very, very successful. Your definition of success is altered a little bit, but it doesn't mean that you can't have the same things that maybe would have been in your picture primarily prior to you deciding you were going to live for significance. And so they're not mutually exclusive of each other, but you can't gain the significance by only having a track towards success.
Right. Great points today, Cord. Man, I'm fired up now.
Yeah, I love it.
I
I'm
absolutely
ready to go
love
too.
it. All right, Cord, the great stuff. If people want to get in touch with you and Fire Seeds, tell everyone how they can do such.
Fireseeds.com. Check us out. If you want to email me at cord@fireseeds.com. If you have any questions about what we do, who we are, we replace multiplying leaders. We love to help companies build leader development tracks within their organization. to help them build leaders. And that's what we're passionate about. So any way we can help, reach out, and we'd love to play a role.
All right. Our friend Cord Sachs with Fire Seeds. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday, Cord.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very deep stuff. Very,
was.
very good. Getting
Good
to the
stuff.
heart of the issue.
Absolutely.
The issue.